Learn.
This one here, this organisation, Frenger, is half French and half English, and what they want to do is to be able to put in a case study, both written in English and written in French, and then upload documents that were PDF documents about the case study, and do some other things in it, and upload images as well. So again, that was an example that they could spend all their time, rather than sending it to us, they could do everything themselves. This, you can't really see this very well, but this is an example of the back end of a site that we've done recently for a company called Paragon Interiors. Down the left hand side they have the capability of adding pages, adding content, and you can see across the top it looks like a little bit like Word, where you can put in ordered lists, embolding and so on. You can add images there, and across the top it says site, content, banner, animation and strapline, meta and properties. This site we've set up so that they can put banner lines and various other things around the site. So they're in complete control of it. They can put the meta tags in and images and so on. Okay, the cost. I've been going quite quickly actually. Right, the cost really is dependent on time, how long it actually takes to do the job. And from our point of view also, it depends on the client in terms of how experienced they are with the internet, what skills they've got, and so on. So we have to make an estimate of how long we're going to take to hold their hand to be able to get the site up and running. And also, a lot of the time, a lot of people come to us because they're looking for something that is unusual, a little bit out of the ordinary, something that they don't feel as though they can get somewhere else. So if it's completely new, we have to account for that, because we have to set things up and we don't know exactly how long things are going to take. And then there's the design. And the design is always an issue, because the design really can take anything from maybe a few hours up to a few days, because we might have to actually go around, we might have some fixed points, like they've got a logo and they've got a colour that we've got to fix in with, or they might be saying we want you to do a logo, or we want to create something from scratch. So it is quite a difficult point sometimes, but that's part of the job really. Okay, costs. Yeah, we'll go on to the next one. Just to give you some examples of costs, this site is called cricketworld.com, and we've created this over probably about 8 years. They keep on asking us to add different versions to it, and basically they're in a position where they can change just about everything on the site. So the cost of this one is particularly high. If you see in the middle, there's the Australian wrap-up 10 tickets, 10 wickets. They've got the capability of uploading an image and uploading some text, and when you click through to that, it goes through to a larger amount of text and gives you the full information. All these concertinas, accordions rather, on the right hand side, they could go in and make changes to those. The site has also got most valued player, where they can find out what players' scores have been and put it into the system and then give rankings. They've also got the advert system around the top and the side. They can go in and change all that themselves. They can upload images, upload ads, point them, link them to go through to websites. All the navigation they can do themselves. So if you can just click through to that. This is part of the admin area, so you can upload all sorts of stuff. So now that site probably tens of thousands of pounds, because I don't know exactly over the years, but I would imagine it's probably 20,000, 25,000 pounds it's cost in total over time, because they keep on adding things to it. And I would argue that that's one of the benefits of having a bespoke system. It's more expensive. That's not the benefit, that's the benefit. It's more expensive, it's not a benefit to you guys, but the benefit is that because we've written all the code, we're able then to actually add to the system in any way that we want to. We know it right from the ground up, so we can add anything as long as it's programmatically possible. We can add it to the system. Okay, now this is another site that we've done using with the CMS system. This is called Airport Information Systems, as you can see. They can go in and change everything in there. Now, we did a sort of a credit crunch special where we did 4 or 5 sites together, and that cost them about £1,000. But to be honest, I think I wish I'd charged them a little bit more. It was too much of a credit crunch for me. So I guess the range for us, for a site designed, set up, would be in the order of about £1,200, £1,500 up to whatever you want to pay, in terms of depending on the complexity of it and how big it is. Is that supposed to happen? And when you click yours, that goes off. That's very clever, isn't it? Okay, so my opinion in choosing a supplier, and I've tried to look at this as straightforward as I can, trying to help you. So my suggestions looking for a supplier is talk to existing customers and listen to recommendations. Anybody you're happy with, one of your friends who's got a website from somebody, go and talk to that person. If they're happy, then that is a good indication that the supplier is pretty good. Take a look at their portfolio and see whether there's anything in there that you either like or is similar to your sort of business. How many staff do you have? I think that's quite important, because somebody who's might be the best web designer in the world who works in their attic as a student, one might be a student and then goes off on holiday, but if they're on their own and they go away, you've got nobody to phone up to get any work done. Don't get your friend's son to do the work, because they're unlikely to be able to do things when you want them to, and shouting at somebody who you know really well isn't very good. We've got 3 people in our organisation, there's always somebody there. So that's all I would say. That's my opinion anyway. Ask them the questions, they keep the code? Now, a lot of people say, well, you can't move from our hosting because it's our code and it's our IP property. The way I look at it is that if somebody can understand our code, not that it's particularly complicated, but if somebody can understand my code, then they will probably be capable of doing the work anyway. So we allow people to take their code and put it somewhere else if they want to, so that they're not tied to us. Make sure also that the domain names are in the name of yourself, not in somebody else's domain. When I first started, I must admit that I used to just have a credit card registered with an internet service provider and just say I'll have another domain, and it's caused me so many problems actually transferring the domains to the real owners of the site. I never do it anymore, but I've learnt my lesson. But when you buy a domain, make sure the domain gets transferred into your name immediately or as soon as you can, because it's your property. Yeah, always find out what how much. Oh no, that's the other thing. How much would it cost to move? If you've got a website and somebody says to you, yeah, you can move to somebody else, I found that people charge ridiculous prices. So get that up front. Say, if I want to move from your hosting, how much would it cost me to transfer away? We don't charge for transferring away, by the way. And then the hosting cost. The hosting cost is how much you will pay somebody for your website be there 24 hours, 7 days a week. Find out how much they are. And are there any other costs? Some people will charge you a monthly fee for something or other or whatever. And the other thing is to try and make sure that you get on with your internet, your web designing. Make sure that you have got some sort of, hopefully, rapport with them. You want to, if you don't like them at the beginning, you're going to like them even less if things go wrong. Try and get on with somebody as soon as you can, right at the beginning. Yeah, I think that's about it from my point. It's gone a bit quicker than I thought. Right, okay, that's my interpretation of bespoke. What I would say is that bespoke gives you, hopefully, when you get started, exactly what you're looking for. There is more expense in that, but you've got to balance that up with putting your own time and an effort into learning about the open system.
Paul's going to be around later on to answer some questions, but essentially what we're talking about here is a three-way spat. It's a gloves-off time, really, between a bespoke written system. Alistair's going to come on and tell us about open source systems. Sorry. What we're talking about really is 3 options at this point. We've got a bespoke, raw coded, specially for your business, then that's what Paul specialises in. Alistair coming on now is this thing called open source. Anybody not familiar with open source? The idea with open source is that I'm sure he's going to fill you in, is that it's kind of like 50% built. A lot of these modules already exist, and Alistair's job, rather than perhaps coding things from scratch, is to modify and configure something that sort of already exists. Yeah, so that's the alternative. The third one, which I'm going to sort of support tonight as well, is the sort of free, cheap and cheerful. There are tools which will do this at very low cost. It all depends on where you're at on your business.
This is Lee Champions production on behalf of Axis Centre.